I want to talk a little bit about doing the radio show because I have a lot of people who ask me, well, they want to go into podcasting and they think it's just you record and it magically shows up somewhere. And there's a little more to it than that. And I just think that it's.
Why don't you tell them? Why don't you tell the audience about that? So when you wake up in the morning, you just don't turn on the record button and it's, here I am, guys.
It does sound like it would be easy in a way, and you can make it easier or harder depending on how good you want it to be too. But just to do the minimum kind of a show where mine's on AM, FM, as well as being a podcast. But let's just think podcast and cut out the whole AM, FM part for now, just even though it's not that much harder to have it on AM, FM. The hardest part is just having the show in general and then where it goes after that.
Yeah, we don't care about who carries it right now.
Right. Yeah.
We don't care about that. We care about all the preparation that has to go in to having the show.
There's a lot. You would be surprised. First of all, you got to find people who want to be on your show, which when you're new to doing it could be challenging. But you got to think you're offering them a free opportunity to showcase what they're doing. So sometimes your people you pick at the beginning might be different people than you find later. As you get better at it, you'll get more experienced and better guests will come on who have more interesting things to say, maybe I should say.
But if you're inviting me to your party, don't you think you ought to know who I am first?
Oh, of course. And that alone, what I do when I invite people is I give them, this is where it airs. This is what we do. We pre-record. It airs this much later. These are some example shows. You can check it out.
This woman didn't even give me her credentials, where she's been, what she's doing.
As long as they link to what they do, if you could look at no link.
There's no anything.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. You want to tell them who you are.
I would not be talking about this if this was only the first time, because I think, okay, they don't know what they're doing. But this happens all the time. How about people who invite us, not even to appear on a show, who invite us on LinkedIn to be part of their community? And, I got one this morning from so far in another country, in a country I've never even heard of. And the person had no credentials listed on the LinkedIn. He had no information at all, and he wanted to connect with me. And it did say looking for a job, currently unemployed.
Yeah, those aren't ones I would select. Yeah.
Look, we've all been there, in between jobs, in between husbands, in between lovers, in between a whole lot of things, in between our graduate degrees. I mean, we've all had that.
Right.
So, and I really want to help these people.
But you can't help everybody or you're going to waste.
You have to give me something to go on.
Well, I think, you give them something to go on, but even, there's just so much more than just giving them information about your show. You have to find out if it's a good fit for your show. What have they done? Why do you want them? Or have they got a new book? You do research on the people you want on your show. The ones that contact me through my website and they want to talk about these crazy topics that have nothing to do with my show. I'm like, have you seen what my show's about? I've got a new novel, and I'm like, I don't talk about novels on my show. I mean, or whatever it is, it's just, I don't know where they found me or why, but they, people do that. But once you find the people you want, you have to get them on the show, which takes a scheduling system, and you have to have it so that the scheduling system notifies them. And I use a certain one that gives them a notice like a day before, and then a couple hours before, and then an hour before, and then it also asks them for, you have to set it up. You have to set up, I want you to send me your bio. I want you to send me your picture. I want you to send me some potential questions that you might like. Give me your Twitter handle. Give me your this handle. So you can promote it for them. You want to be able to tag them on Twitter, and you want to be able to there's all that stuff that happens before the show even happens.
Okay, but you're talking about doing your, pardon the expression, homework.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that anybody can do this, and you're on air, and voila. It's like people asking me to be a spokesperson for a company that doesn't exist yet.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And they're just starting it. I mean, it's almost insulting because we don't have much. You and I are running around like lunatics all the time, and we don't have time to
Right.
kind of hold somebody's hand. And when somebody who is training coaches, for example, comes to my LinkedIn page and says, you might like such and such and such and such, and we can get you on these television shows. Bingo. Have you even read my bio? That I've been on every television show that you're offering to get me on, if you could even get me on. I mean, it's insulting. It's a time waster. And I go, ignore. That's it. But
well, I think it helps if you've got a good LinkedIn profile that's connected to a lot of other good people to begin with, who they recognize and they see have been on your show. But if you don't have anybody and you're just contacting people out of the blue without explanation, it's a tough sell. What I think you need to go with your circle of influence to begin with, people you actually know, and those people ask them who they know, and try to have more of a warm call with people. You know what I mean? But I don't suggest meeting with people before the show, because then you've said everything to them you want to say, and when the show goes live, it's not as genuine and interesting. But so you have to get people on the show. You have to then be able to figure out how to set up your software and your computer and all that stuff, which we could do a whole show on that, which I won't go into. But there's a lot of setting up a shell and music and ads and all these things you have to create to have a templated show on your computer, so that when people call in, it just goes right into this software. And that's what I do. But there's different ways. You could do it through Zoom. You could do it through these other types of networks. But for me, the sound quality is better doing it on the computer. And so you have to think about sound quality. You got to think about speakers. Microphones. You got all that stuff to deal with, which nobody realizes that can be expensive too, to buy all that.
People don't realize this. And when they're coming to us and saying, hey, I could do this, and I would like to do that, and I could offer you an opportunity without reading any of the stuff that we're all about, that is a surefire way to never be contacted by that person. It's
tough.
But people are now hearing all the stuff that you put into developing your radio show. Okay, it's radio. You don't have to wear hair and makeup, readiness to be part of that. And you think, oh, so much easier. I mean, I think radio is so easy in comparison to television because of all the things that are going on TV. And if you avert your eyes just one little bit, people will see you as a liar. People will see you as somebody looking to embroider the truth. And people will pick up on these cues so quickly.
Yeah, you do have the advantage with radio with certain things, but then there's all, as far as what you mentioned, but then if you're producing the show, you're on another end of this that's different than being just, you're speaking as the interviewer, but you're also handling all this other aspect that people don't recognize. People think I've got 50 people doing 50 things, but guess who those 50 people are?
You're very talented in what you do.
No, but then, okay, so what you have to do, not only are you doing the show, but you got to go out to break between guests and then come back, and and the sound has to not just go right out, and volume has to adjust, and there's all those kind of technical things you got to figure out. But then after you've done your show, say I put 2 people on a show because I have an hour to fill, because that's what my show takes since it goes on AM FM as well. I don't necessarily want to interview somebody for an entire hour. It could be a long, boring thing for people. They have to hear the same person that long. So a lot of times I'll put 2 people together. And so you've got to combine 2 people that maybe combine well. And then you've got to splice all this stuff and add all the, all the ads and the intros and the outros. It's a lot of work. But even at that point, then you got to save it. You got to Dropbox it, or whatever way you want to share it with your radio station, with your podcast people. And then you have to decide whether you want it to have it transcribed, do you want to not have it transcribed, do you want to have certain tweetable moments, do you want to have certain things that cost extra, do you want to pay money, do you not want to pay money for all the extras? But then if you do have it transcribed, you can have all this content on your website, all these people will see all these words. Imagine an hour every other day of content is becoming words now transcribed on your site. So you get all that traffic. So then you got to decide whether to advertise there. And then there's all those things, but then there's also the graphics involved in all this. So let's say you figure out all the video editing. Now you have to do graphic editing, and be able to upload and understand WordPress sites. And, there is just a lot to it if you want it to look decent. And a lot of people will do a podcast, and another big issue they have is because they aren't on AM, FM or whatever, like I am, they don't get very dedicated to it. They'll go, well, yeah, I'll do another one when I meet somebody else. And if you just do it once in a while, you don't really get that base of people following you. And so unless you put it in your calendar that you're going to do it 3 times a week or whatever, or once a week, a lot of people do just a few here and there, and they go, yeah, I have a podcast. I go, well, how many have you done? And they go, well, in the last few years, probably 20 or something. I'm like, okay, I've done 500 in that. Yeah, I'm past 500. I stopped counting a long time ago.
But you see, everybody, Diane does all the techie stuff herself. She's so brilliant with technology.
I like that stuff, though.
And she loves it. Whereas the rest of us go, ugh, rather not. I'd rather develop just the content because it's so interesting. But people look at us from the far side, and they have no idea what any of this has entailed. No idea how many goof ups we have had, how many times things didn't get.
Yeah. Hit record, by the way. If you're going to record, hit record.
Sometimes things get produced that are not up to par. And we have to recognize that these things are all part of the learning process. Now, we have learned from them, but if somebody is on your show, I wonder if they have learned anything from being on your show. And
I get a lot of great comments from people. I do a testimonial page, and you can go to my website and look at the testimonial page, which I think is really fun because when I send them the shows, when it does air, usually it airs like 4 to 6 weeks after we record them. And, it takes like 4 to 6 weeks to get on my show. It takes a long time because it's so busy. But by the time they get the show, they get the link to everything to share. And we give them the graphics to share and comments to share and all this stuff. And we also ask for a testimonial if you have time. And so it's kind of fun to see the testimonials and who takes the time to do that, because it's really a nice thing to do if you're on somebody's show. Plus, it helps you because it links to your website that you've done this. And so there's a lot more that goes along with, and do you have it on YouTube as well as on all the other sites and all, because you don't necessarily, just because it's a radio show, not have to put it on YouTube. You can put, another picture or something else playing while the sound's going, and that happens a lot. Even my radio station does that with my show sometimes on their site. So there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of behind the scenes things. I use a lot of different graphic software and video software editing, and the things you forget how much goes along with it. I got a little bit of help when I first started from going to Guitar City. They were really great about telling me which equipment to buy, but a lot of it you learn on YouTube. Some of it, how do you set up your GarageBand or whatever software you're using? You can look up a lot of it, but it's, at first your sound might not be perfect, and you might have to hire somebody on Fiverr to do certain things or those kinds of sites. I think it's really challenging for a lot of people, but they think it's going to be this free thing that's going to be no sweat, and you're going to get all this business, and you're going to find all these companies that want to sponsor you because and that's a scam in itself. A lot of these people try to sell you this training to help you get sponsors, but it's really, yeah.
I've seen it. I've participated in some of these things.
Yeah.
We always like to see what's out there, and I'm always disappointed that what's out there is not up to par according to my standards.
Well, a lot of these things are good in theory. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to get somebody to do certain things. I've done some swap, like I'll do an ad for your show. You give me tickets for this, or you can do different things where you can do ideas like that. But in general, these shows are loss leaders. And in the business world, if you're not familiar with that term, it's just giving away something for a lot less or for free than you would normally to get other things, with the hope that maybe they'll want to do something else. But for me, I don't even use it as a loss leader. For me, I did it because I was just wanted to talk to really interesting people. I just thought this is the coolest thing. You just talk to people all day long who have done these amazing things. And a lot of them have led to opportunities, but I know a lot of people do the podcast because they want to get in with C-suite. They want to get in with all these other people. And your intentions come across pretty loud and clear if it's something that you're just trying to do something. And I never have been in that market. So I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to get really good people really early on, because it was clear I wasn't trying to sell them anything. And
but your objective was not to be rich and famous, as we hear so many people say they want to be.
Yeah, if that's who that person is trying to be, that wants the 5,000 people. It's all about, I've talked to people at these events. They go, well, don't you think the shows get spread the most by this kind of person or that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care about that. I care about what they have to say. And I don't really look at the shares like other people do. I have all the statistics, and some of the like Libsyn and different sites are really good at showing you statistics. But to me, it's not about statistics. It's about the message and what you've learned and who you meet through it, of the interesting people. And I think you have to look at why you're doing it. You have to plan out how to do it. And you have to recognize it's not as easy as you think it's going to be.
But I think the homework part is extremely important. And it's just like when I'm coaching somebody and we are rehearsing a presentation again and again and again. That's our homework. And your homework is to prepare so that they, there were 3 words that I always use when I am on television. I want 3 words. That's it. Just show up. But
not like that anymore, though.
But no, it is for me.
Well,
but nobody knows all that I have spent, all the time I've spent developing my sound bites and my storyline and my this and my that. And then I get on an interview and the interviewer goes in this direction, whereas I expected us to go in this direction.
Of course, yeah.
So, so again, you have to think on your seat. Usually it's on your seat, not on your feet.
I think that if you're going to be a host, it helps to ask people what they like for questions, because even if you don't prepare questions, which I did when I first started, just in case, because I thought, what if I don't have anything to say? But I don't anymore. I think that having people give you questions of things they like to be asked is really helpful, but most of them don't send you what you ask them to send you. But if they do, it's nice. But I think to get your questions, you go back and watch a lot of, if they have other videos or other interviews of things that you could tell they got lit up by when they were talking about. I get a lot of ideas for what I want to talk to them about with that. I think it's really important to watch and do your homework on all their work. Because I mean, when I have people on the show that they go, you saw that? I didn't know anybody saw that, or you know what I mean, or whatever. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I get that a lot, which I love it when people say that to me, because there's nothing worse than everybody just always saying the same thing. You know what I mean? And I think you don't want to put people, I don't like to put people on the spot. I ask nice questions. I don't try to be controversial and all that. But if you're going to be nice, but you want to be, just not boring. And to do that, you have to know more about them and ask them unusual aspects of what they do, but within their comfort zone without putting them on the spot. And that takes some time to learn how to do. But it's the homework.
But just as your skills have built, we're building the skills of other people out there who want to become more adroit at what they're doing. So thank you, Diane.
Thank you. This was fun.
It's always fun with you.